Good evening. My name is Ajuri Ngelale, and you are most welcome to Africa's Future Leaders. This week on the program, our journey to become acquainted with the development of Africa's next group of leaders takes us to Accra, Ghana, where a select group of distinguished young African leaders in various sectors from the West African sub-region gathered at the Mandela Washington Fellowship West African Regional Conference. At the conference, we met with several trend-setting young people who are innovating, creating, and working to alleviate the burdens of others through their productive ventures. One of the very interesting discoveries we made is that at the heart of each pursuit is a truly selfless desire to improve the lives of others. Without further ado, we share with you stories and activities from Accra. The Yali West African Regional Conference is open for business as two young innovators compete for investment in a pitch competition. Vweta Chadwick is up first.
Apart from the fact that a market of 25 million people could potentially boost local economies, rejuvenate the Naira, create jobs, trainings for persons with disabilities and persons without disabilities. As a woman with disability myself, I know how marginalizing this is. For example, I had a breathing tube in my throat for 10 years. During this time, I really couldn't do much. My life literally stopped because I didn't find what I needed to wear to enable me go out. And so for 10 years, I thought about how I could change this, what I could do differently. That quest that plagued me for over a decade was answered during my Mandela Washington Fellowship program last year at the University of Delaware. Thankfully, there was a whole department dedicated to research on functional fashion, and that was my aha moment. After my fellowship, I lived with a fellow, Tobiloba Ajayi, who is also a Mandela from Nigeria, who has lived with cerebral palsy for 32 years. And so we began to talk about how we could adapt local resources, what we had in Nigeria, to replicate the successes that has already been recorded at the University of Delaware. And that is how House of Asha was born. We use Velcros in places of zips. We use magnets in places of buttons because those are easier to manipulate. In the short term, I want to be the first to have a fashion show where 50 of our clothes are designed by persons with mobility difficulties and are modeled by persons with disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, just imagine 50 people on crutches, on braces, on tracheostomy, on wheelchair, modeling clothes that they designed that expresses how they feel, not what people make them wear, but what they really want to wear. And I'm inviting you, all of you, my colleagues, my peers, to be a part of that first. The time to do that is now. Apart from this, we are going to be creating jobs and trainings for these people. And so it is really impactful because everyone is going to be engaged. In the long term, we hope to see a perception change. People need to see disability differently. It's not something to be hidden. You can make arts around it. You can express yourself. And so instead of spotlighting disability, instead of hiding it, you make it something that shows how positive and what you can do despite your impairment.
Growing up with women, I came to understand that there are a lot of problems that are confronting women. And one of the major problems is vaginal discharge. In Ghana, it is
Dr. Lord Bassin makes his case.
In 2015, 7 million women went to the hospital with complaints of vaginal discharge. And these are the women that felt comfortable enough to go to the hospital. Most women with vaginal discharge do not feel comfortable to go to the hospital. Vaginal discharge is caused by 3 main organisms, and these organisms, actually, the treatment for each of these organisms is different. Now, if you have vaginal discharge and you do not treat, and then you are pregnant, you run a risk of miscarriage, you run a risk of preterm delivery, and then basically, if you have a discharge and you are not pregnant, you run a risk of infertility. First of all, it is fast.
He believes his testing kit is the solution.
So what happens is that you take the swab, you take your urine, you put it on any of these, so that you put a drop on each of them, and when just one drop, and then when you take it, it's just like a pregnancy test. When you put a drop on each of them, you wait for 10 minutes. The first one is called a negative control. So it's what is going to tell you whether you are negative or not. It's going to show you how a negative test looks like. The last one is the positive control, which is going to show you how a positive test looks like. The second one is Candida. It's for Candida. The middle one is for Trichomonas vaginalis, which is one of the organisms that cause the discharge. And the last one is Gardnerella vaginalis, which is also another of the organisms. So the result is just like a pregnancy test. So 1 pink line means you are negative, 2 pink lines means you are positive.
The judges' scorecards are in.
The pitch competition winner, walking away with $1,000 investment in the project or business, and a satellite dish gets your Kwese TV, 1 international plane ticket, gets your Sadhguru. Distinguished fellows, put your hands together for the winner. We say congratulations to you, Lord.
Honored to welcome to the program the winner of the 2017 pitch competition, Lord Anthony Bassin. You're very welcome to Africa's Future Leaders.
Thank you very much.
First of all, I want to just congratulate you on really a terrific achievement. But let's talk about your innovation, how you came up with the innovation.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I grew up with 3 sisters, and growing up with my sisters and having their friends come over, I got to learn a lot of things about women and their needs. And I got to realize that, yes, women have a lot of problems, but one of the major problems is vaginal discharge. Most women do not know what to do with it. Whether it is normal, whether there's an infection, they do not know about that. One time in my practice, I saw a woman actually break down simply because she was asked by a doctor to do a vaginal discharge, to take a swab for vaginal discharge. And she just could not bring herself to get naked in front of the man who was going to take the sample. So she started crying. And it was heart-wrenching and it tore at me. And so I decided that I was going to start to think about putting together a kit that women could use at home that would make it easier for them to take samples. So that is how the idea came about. I have a background in medical laboratory science. So in diagnostics, basically diagnosing diseases and all that. And I have over 7 years experience working with women and diagnosing diseases, these two. And I have realized that most of the time, when it comes to diagnostics, women are the most disadvantaged. And so that is one of the reasons why I decided to bring together this product that can help women at home.
I believe that one of the things that struck not just the judges, but also the group of young African leaders watching the competition was not just kind of the moral intention behind it, but also the science. Can you talk a little bit about how you came up with, a scientific method that would enable you to back up that noble moral intention you have?
Thank you very much. That's a very interesting question, and it's a very necessary one. Lateral flow technology has been in existence for a long time. Unfortunately, in Africa, we've not been using it. All our test kits, our diagnostic rapid test kits, are imported, except South Africa, of course. South Africa produces its own test kits, and it supplies its own market. The rest of us in Africa, we import from Europe, from the Americas, and even from China. Learning the technology is not difficult. In fact, there are classes that are held in the US that are for 3 days just to learn the technology to be able to produce. Of course, learning the technology does not mean that you come out with an innovative idea. You have to have the science background. You also have to have the passion to be able to think up of an idea to help people. I invested in myself. I paid monies to go and study and learn how to do all those test kits and all that. In fact, there's a lateral flow course which is held by DCN in the US in San Diego every year. I paid $1,500 from my own money just to go and learn about the technology.
When we talk about the Young African Leaders Initiative, you have young people from so many different sectors. Of course, you being in the biomedical field. Can you talk a little bit about how the YALI program has added value to your pursuit and your achievement of what ultimately you've now been able to accomplish?
The fellowship has been able to teach me that, yes, in terms of research, I could do research, research and development, come out with my product, and the entrepreneurship side will take care of the business, the marketing and all that. And that has taught me a lot of things. Apart from that, I had very good mentors. I met a very wonderful lady, Dr. Jacqueline. She's a biomedical engineer, professor of biomedical engineering at Purdue University. She actually